The termination letter sat on the kitchen table like a death sentence. After 12 years of dedicated service, Derek had been let go with nothing more than a corporate email and a pathetic severance package. The tech company he'd helped build from the ground up had been acquired by a larger firm, and he was deemed redundant in the new structure. He stared at his phone, reading the message again, "We need to talk. Tonight." His wife, Jennifer, had been distant for weeks. He'd attributed it to stress. They'd both been under pressure with his job situation becoming increasingly unstable. But tonight, something in her tone felt final. When she came home, she didn't even sit down. She stood in the doorway of their living room, arms crossed, looking everywhere but at him. "I can't do this anymore," she said, her voice flat and rehearsed. "I didn't sign up for this kind of life." Derek felt his stomach drop. "Jennifer, it's just a setback. I'll find something else. I have interviews lined up." "It's not just about the job," she interrupted, though her eyes betrayed the lie. "I haven't been happy for a while. I need someone who can provide stability. Someone with ambition who actually follows through." The words cut deep because they were so carefully chosen to wound. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. She'd been planning this. "There's someone else, isn't there?" Derek heard himself ask, though he dreaded the answer. She hesitated for only a moment. "Ryan and I have grown close over the past few months. He's been supportive during a difficult time. He understands what I need." Ryan. His best friend since college. The guy who'd been his groomsman. The person he'd confided in about every fear and insecurity during the past few months of career turmoil. The man who'd come over for dinner just last week, looked Derek in the eye, and assured him that everything would work out. "How long?" Derek managed to ask. "Does it matter?" Jennifer was already pulling her pre-packed suitcase from the hall closet. She'd planned this moment down to the last detail. "I'm staying at Ryan's place. My lawyer will contact you about the divorce proceedings. We don't have kids, and I don't want anything from the house. Let's keep this clean." Clean. As if ending an 8-year marriage could be clean. As if betrayal by both a wife and a best friend could ever be anything but devastatingly messy. "You're doing this now? When I just lost my job? When I need support more than ever?" She finally looked at him, and what he saw there was worse than anger. It was pity mixed with contempt. "That's exactly why I'm doing it now, Derek. You're not the man I married. That person had drive and success. I can't wait around hoping you'll find it again." She wheeled her suitcase to the door, then paused. "Ryan wants to call you. To explain. I told him you'd need time, but he feels terrible about how this happened." "How considerate," Derek said bitterly. After she left, Derek sat in the empty house for hours. His phone buzzed repeatedly, Ryan calling, texting, desperate to explain and work things out. Derek blocked the number. Some betrayals didn't deserve explanations. The next few weeks blurred together. Derek threw himself into job hunting with an almost manic energy. He wasn't just looking for any position, he was determined to prove Jennifer wrong, to show her that her timing had been catastrophically poor. But rejection after rejection piled up. His former industry contacts were sympathetic but unhelpful. The job market was brutal for someone whose last position had ended in a corporate restructuring. He sold the house, too many memories, too much empty space. He moved into a modest apartment and lived on his dwindling savings. Depression crept in around the edges, whispering that maybe Jennifer had been right. Maybe he was a failure. Maybe he'd lost his edge. But late at night, staring at the ceiling of his bare apartment, Derek made himself a promise. This wasn't the end of his story. It was just the worst chapter. And every story needed a lowest point before the hero's return. He just had no idea how spectacular that return would be. 3 months after Jennifer left, Derek hit rock bottom. His savings account had dwindled to nearly nothing, and he'd been turned down for positions he was overqualified for. The industry whispers suggested his former company's acquisition had tainted him. Other employers saw him as damaged goods from a failed venture. It was during one particularly dark evening, eating instant ramen in his sparsely furnished apartment, that his phone rang with an unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Derek Thompson. This is Victoria Chen from Apex Solutions. Do you have a moment? Apex Solutions. Derek knew the name. They were the powerhouse firm that had acquired his former company. Why would they be calling him? I've been reviewing the portfolio of talent from the acquisition, Victoria continued, and your name kept appearing in project histories. The innovative solutions, the client retention rates, very impressive work that seemed to vanish from official records after the merger. Derek's heart began to race. The new management didn't see value in my approach. The new middle management didn't, Victoria corrected. But I'm not middle management. I'm the Executive Vice President of Strategic Development, and I'm building a specialized team to handle our most challenging accounts. People who were let go because they were too innovative, too threatening to the status quo. Are you interested in a conversation? 3 days later, Derek sat across from Victoria in a downtown high-rise. She was sharp, direct, and saw through corporate nonsense with laser precision. I'll be honest, she said, sliding a folder across the table. This position is a risk. You'd be reporting directly to me, working on corporate turnarounds and hostile restructurings. The hours are brutal, the pressure is intense, and you'll make enemies. But the compensation reflects that. Derek opened the folder and tried not to react to the salary figure, nearly double what he'd been making before. When do I start? Victoria smiled. I like decisive. Monday. But there's one more thing you should know. We're in the process of acquiring Tech Dynamics, Ryan Sterling's company. If that's going to be a problem. Ryan Sterling. Derek's mind reeled. Ryan had been a mid-level manager at a tech startup Jennifer had always praised as more dynamic than Derek's company. Yes. We're restructuring their entire leadership. It'll be announced in about 4 months, after due diligence. Given your personal history, I needed to disclose it. Derek thought carefully. Will I have any decision-making authority in the restructuring? Significant authority. We value internal expertise on personnel decisions. Then it's not a problem. Over the next 4 months, Derek transformed. He worked 18-hour days, proving himself indispensable to Victoria and the executive team. He spearheaded 3 successful corporate integrations, saved 2 major client accounts, and developed a reputation as a turnaround specialist. The work was exhausting, but it filled the hollow space Jennifer had left. He moved to a better apartment, bought new clothes, and started taking care of himself again. He wasn't doing it for revenge, or at least, that's what he told himself. He was doing it because he'd remembered who he was before Jennifer's abandonment had nearly destroyed him. When the Tech Dynamics acquisition became public, Derek's phone exploded with messages. Former colleagues congratulating him. Industry contacts suddenly wanting to reconnect. And buried among them, a text from a number he thought he'd blocked successfully. It was Jennifer. I heard about your new position. Congratulations. I'm glad you landed on your feet. Derek deleted it without responding. 2 weeks later, a cream-colored envelope arrived at his office. It was addressed by hand in elegant calligraphy. Inside was a wedding invitation. Jennifer Martinez and Ryan Sterling request the honor of your presence at their wedding celebration. A small handwritten note was attached. I know this might seem strange, but we'd really like you to be there. We've all moved on, and it would mean a lot to show there are no hard feelings. It would help us all find closure. Ryan especially hopes you can make it. G. Derek read the note 3 times, each reading revealing new layers of audacity. They wanted him to witness their triumph, to see them happy while he was supposed to still be broken. The wedding was scheduled for 6 weeks away, just after the Tech Dynamics restructuring would be finalized. He pulled up the acquisition files on his computer. Ryan Sterling, Operations Manager. Performance reviews, adequate but unremarkable. Victoria had already flagged him as redundant in proposed structure. Derek picked up his phone and texted a single word to the number Jennifer had used, I'll be there. The trap was set. Derek stood in Victoria's corner office, looking out over the city skyline. Below them, the financial district hummed with the energy of deals being made and careers being built or destroyed. The Tech Dynamics integration plan is ready for your review, Victoria said, handing him a tablet. "We're keeping 30% of their current staff. The rest will receive severance packages according to their contracts." Derek scrolled through the names, pausing at Ryan Sterling's entry. "What about the operations manager position?" "We have 3 internal candidates who are significantly more qualified. Sterling's performance reviews suggest he's been coasting on charm and connections rather than results. His team's efficiency metrics are below industry standard, and 2 major clients have specifically requested different account management." Victoria looked at Derek carefully. "Unless you have concerns about objectivity, I'd recommend we include him in the departure package." Derek considered lying, considered pretending he didn't know Ryan personally. But Victoria was too sharp for that, and honesty had served him well since joining Apex. "Full disclosure, Ryan Sterling is engaged to my ex-wife. They started their relationship while we were still married." Victoria's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "And you're still recommending termination?" "I'm recommending what the data shows. His performance is inadequate. If he were the best person for the role, I'd say keep him despite the personal history. But he's not. He's mediocre at best, and we don't keep mediocre at Apex. Professional and principled. That's why you're on my team." Victoria made a note on her own tablet. "The restructuring will be announced 2 weeks after their wedding, I assume." Derek nodded. He'd checked the dates multiple times. "Then let's make sure everything is ironclad. I won't have anyone claiming personal vendetta undermine legitimate business decisions." Over the next month, Derek worked with HR to document every aspect of the restructuring decision. Ryan's performance issues were catalogued, compared to industry benchmarks, and reviewed by outside consultants. The decision to let him go was sound from every angle. If anything, Derek's connection to the situation made the vetting more thorough, not less. But Derek also prepared himself personally. He wasn't interested in dramatic confrontations or emotional scenes. He wanted something more subtle, the quiet satisfaction of letting them discover, in their moment of triumph, that the man they'd left broken had rebuilt himself into something they never expected. He bought a new suit, tailored, expensive, the kind of thing the old Derek never would have splurged on. He got a proper haircut, updated his watch, and cultivated the understated confidence that came with genuine success rather than bravado. His colleague James noticed the transformation. "Hot date? You're looking sharp." "Wedding," Derek replied. "Yours." "Ex-wife's." James nearly choked on his coffee. "That's either the healthiest thing I've ever heard or the most elaborate revenge plot. Which is it?" Derek smiled enigmatically. "I'm going to support her new beginning. It's the mature thing to do." "You're terrifying when you're being subtle, you know that." The week before the wedding, Derek received another text from Jennifer. "Ryan mentioned you confirmed. I'm really glad. It shows growth. We're all in a better place now." The condescension in the message was palpable. She genuinely believed she'd done him a favor by leaving, that finding success after she'd abandoned him somehow vindicated her choices. She wanted his attendance as validation, proof that he'd accepted his role as the man who wasn't good enough, who'd been upgraded from. Derek didn't respond. Let her think whatever she wanted. The truth would reveal itself soon enough. The day before the wedding, Victoria called him into her office one final time. "The Tech Dynamics integration is scheduled for announcement on Monday, 2 days after the wedding. The severance packages are prepared, including Sterling's. Are you certain you want to attend this wedding?" "Absolutely certain." "Then go with my blessing. And Derek." Victoria's expression softened slightly. "Don't do anything that would embarrass Apex. But do remember that the best revenge is living well, and occasionally, letting people discover exactly how well you're living at the most inopportune moments." Derek smiled. "I'll keep that in mind." The venue was exquisite, a historic mansion with manicured gardens and a string quartet playing as guests arrived. Jennifer had always wanted an elegant wedding, and clearly, she'd gotten one. Derek wondered briefly if Ryan understood the irony of paying for the wedding Jennifer had always dreamed of with the job he was about to lose. Derek arrived deliberately late, just before the ceremony began. He wanted to minimize small talk while maximizing visibility. As he walked through the garden toward the seating area, heads turned. Several former mutual friends did double takes, clearly shocked by his transformation. "Derek? Is that really you?" Sarah, Jennifer's cousin, approached with wide eyes. "You look incredible. I heard you were doing well, but wow." "Thank you, Sarah. Congratulations to the happy couple. Are you here with anyone?" She glanced around hopefully. "Flying solo. Wouldn't miss it." He could see the whispers spreading through the crowd like ripples on water. The divorced husband who was supposed to be broken and desperate had arrived looking successful, confident, and entirely unbothered. It wasn't the narrative Jennifer had prepared people for. Derek took a seat in the back row, perfect position to observe without being central. He watched as Ryan stood at the altar, fidgeting nervously. The man looked older than Derek remembered, stress evident in the lines around his eyes. Jennifer had expensive tastes, and keeping up with them on a mid-level manager's salary was probably taking its toll. The music swelled, and Jennifer appeared. She was beautiful. Derek could acknowledge that objectively. Her dress was stunning, her makeup flawless. She glided down the aisle with the confidence of someone who believed she'd made all the right choices. Her eyes swept over the crowd and stopped cold when they found Derek. For just a moment, her practiced smile faltered. She'd expected him to look diminished, grateful to be included. Instead, he looked like he'd stepped out of a boardroom where he'd just closed a major deal, because essentially, he had. Derek nodded politely, his expression pleasant and neutral. Jennifer recovered quickly, but he'd seen the flicker of uncertainty. Ryan noticed the disturbance and followed Jennifer's gaze. When he saw Derek, his face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Surprise, guilt, confusion, and something else Derek couldn't quite identify. Fear, perhaps. The ceremony proceeded. Derek listened to them exchange vows about loyalty, partnership, and supporting each other through challenges. He wondered if they heard the irony in their own words. When the officiant pronounced them married and they kissed, Derek applauded politely along with everyone else. The reception was held in the mansion's grand ballroom. Derek deliberately circulated, talking casually with old acquaintances, radiating ease. Several people asked what he was doing now, and he kept his answers vague but impressive: corporate restructuring and strategic development. Keeping me busy, but I enjoy the challenge. Finally, Jennifer approached him, Ryan trailing nervously behind her. She'd had time to rebuild her composure, and her smile was brilliant and sharp. "Derek, I'm so glad you came. Really. It means a lot that we can all be mature about this. Congratulations on your marriage. The venue is beautiful." "Thank you. We wanted something special." She glanced at Ryan, who managed a weak smile. "Ryan was just saying how good you look. Your new job must be treating you well." "It has its moments. Corporate acquisitions, restructuring, that sort of thing. Intense but rewarding." "That sounds impressive," Ryan said, his voice strained. "Which company?" "Apex Solutions. We specialize in optimizing corporate structures after acquisitions." Derek watched Ryan's face carefully. The name clearly meant something to him, but he couldn't quite place it. Jennifer, less attuned to corporate politics, just looked pleased. "Apex Solutions? That's a major firm. See, Derek, I knew you'd find your footing. You just needed the right opportunity." The patronizing tone was exactly what Derek had expected. She genuinely believed his success somehow validated her decision to leave him at his lowest point. "Speaking of opportunities," Derek continued casually, "I heard Apex recently acquired Tech Dynamics. That's your company, isn't it, Ryan?" Ryan's face went pale. The pieces were clicking into place now. Yes, that's my company. The acquisition just finalized last week." "Small world," Derek said pleasantly. "I'm actually on the integration team. In fact, I'm the lead strategist on the restructuring plan." The silence that fell over their small circle was profound. Jennifer looked confused, sensing something was wrong but not understanding what. Ryan understood perfectly. Derek could see the dawning horror in his former friend's eyes. The champagne glass trembled slightly in Ryan's hand. Derek watched him process the implications, could almost see the man's career flashing before his eyes. "You're leading the Tech Dynamics restructuring." Ryan's voice was barely above a whisper. "It's my specialty now, evaluating personnel, determining who provides value to the organization and who doesn't. Making the hard decisions that need to be made during integration." Derek's tone remained conversational, as if discussing the weather. "We've been very thorough with Tech Dynamics. Months of analysis, performance reviews, client feedback. You'd be impressed by how detailed the process is." Jennifer finally sensed the tension. "Why do you both look so serious? This is a wedding, not a business meeting." "Your husband's future is something of a business matter at the moment," Derek said. "The integration announcement goes out Monday morning. I'd tell you to enjoy your honeymoon, but I understand you're postponing it until next month for budget reasons." It was a small cruelty, but Derek couldn't resist. Jennifer's face flushed. Clearly, the delayed honeymoon was a sore subject. "Ryan, what is he talking about?" Jennifer grabbed her new husband's arm. Ryan seemed to be struggling to breathe. "Jennifer, maybe we should discuss this later." "No, I think now is perfect," Derek interrupted smoothly. "After all, Jennifer values honesty and transparency in relationships, don't you? I'd hate for there to be secrets between newlyweds on their wedding day." A small crowd was beginning to form around them, sensing drama. "Ryan's position at Tech Dynamics has been evaluated as part of the post-acquisition restructuring," Derek continued, his voice calm and professional. "Unfortunately, the data shows significant performance issues. Below average team efficiency, client complaints, missed targets for the past 18 months. When a company is acquired, we can't keep everyone, only the people who genuinely add value." "Derek, please," Ryan started, but Derek wasn't finished. "The official termination letter will be delivered Monday, along with a severance package calculated according to his contract. 3 months' salary, health insurance continuation, the standard exit protocol. He'll need to return all company equipment and complete an exit interview with HR by Friday." Jennifer's face had gone from flushed to white. "You're firing him? On our wedding day?" "I'm not firing him. Apex Solutions is terminating his employment as part of a routine corporate integration, a decision based purely on objective performance metrics. The timing is just coincidental. You chose the wedding date, after all. I'm simply providing advance notice as a courtesy, since we're all such good friends." The word friends landed like a slap. Several people in the growing audience gasped or murmured. Derek could see former mutual acquaintances putting the pieces together, remembering how this triangle had formed. "This is revenge," Jennifer hissed. "This is you being petty and vindictive." "This is business," Derek corrected. "Ryan's termination was recommended by 3 separate analysts who have no idea about our personal history. In fact, because of our connection, I had his file reviewed by outside consultants to ensure objectivity. Every single evaluation reached the same conclusion: he's not performing at the level Apex requires. The documentation is extensive and legally ironclad." He turned to Ryan, who looked like he might vomit or pass out or both. "For what it's worth, this isn't personal. You were going to be let go regardless of whether I worked on the integration. I just happened to be the person delivering the news. If you'd been competent at your job, even our history wouldn't have mattered. But you weren't. You've been coasting, just like you coasted through our friendship, taking advantage of people's trust while doing the bare minimum. You planned this." Jennifer's voice shook with rage. "You came here to humiliate us." "No, I came here because you invited me. You wanted to show me how happy you were, how much better your life was without me. You wanted validation, closure, proof that you'd made the right choice by leaving me when I was vulnerable." Derek's voice remained level, but there was steel underneath. "I simply let you have your perfect day before reality sets in. Consider it a wedding gift." He looked around at the assembled guests, many of whom had witnessed Jennifer leaving Derek, had perhaps even supported her decision. "I want to be clear, I hold no ill will. Jennifer was right to leave if she wasn't happy. Marriage should be a choice, not an obligation. And Ryan did me a favor. Actually. Losing everything forced me to rebuild, to remember who I was and who I wanted to be. I'm more successful now than I ever was before, and I have better people around me, people who don't abandon ship during storms. Sarah, Jennifer's cousin, spoke up from the crowd. But you're destroying their life together right now. Am I? Derek looked genuinely puzzled. I'm simply doing my job. Ryan's employment situation isn't my problem to solve, it's his. He'll find another position eventually. Maybe one where he'll actually have to perform rather than rely on charm and connections. As for their marriage, if it's strong, it'll survive a job loss and some financial pressure, right? The question hung in the air, loaded with meaning. Jennifer had left Derek specifically because he'd lost his job and faced financial uncertainty. Derek was now testing whether her marriage to Ryan could withstand the same pressures she deemed unacceptable in their relationship. Jennifer seemed to realize the trap she'd walked into. If she stood by Ryan through this, it highlighted her hypocrisy. If she didn't, she proved Derek's point about her character. "You're a monster," she said finally. "No, I'm a professional doing my job exceptionally well. There's a difference." Derek finished his champagne and set the glass down on a nearby table. "I should go. I've paid my respects, offered my congratulations, and provided some important information. That's what good friends do, isn't it?" He turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Ryan? When you come in for your exit interview Monday, please remember that Apex has a non-disparagement clause in all severance agreements. If you want that 3-month salary, you'll need to speak professionally about the company and the transition. Just a friendly reminder." As Derek walked toward the exit, he could hear the explosion of whispers behind him. The carefully orchestrated wedding had devolved into chaos. Jennifer was crying, whether from anger, humiliation, or the dawning realization of her financial future, Derek couldn't say. Ryan stood frozen, his perfect day shattered. Derek stepped out into the cool evening air and pulled out his phone. A text from Victoria, "How did it go?" He typed back, "Professionally handled. I maintained Apex's reputation and delivered information clearly. No drama. Liar. I expect a full debriefing Monday morning." Derek smiled and hailed a car. As he rode through the city toward his apartment, he reflected on the evening. He'd gotten his moment, exposed the hypocrisy, and demonstrated how far he'd come. But strangely, he felt no triumph, just a profound sense of closure. Jennifer had been right about one thing: he wasn't the man she'd married. He was stronger now, more focused, more aware of his worth. He'd learned that success built on someone else's failure was hollow, but success built on your own determination was unshakable. His phone buzzed again. This time it was from a number he didn't recognize. "This is James from the office. Heard you went to your ex's wedding. You're either crazy or brilliant. Drinks this week? You can tell me which one it was." Derek laughed and typed back, "Drinks sound good. And I'm hoping for brilliant, but I'll settle for professionally petty." As the car pulled up to his building, Derek looked at his reflection in the window. The man staring back was someone he respected, someone who'd been broken and rebuilt himself without compromising his integrity, who'd faced his worst moment and used it as fuel rather than an excuse. Jennifer and Ryan would figure out their lives. Ryan would find another job eventually, and they'd either survive the pressure together or fall apart. That wasn't Derek's concern anymore. He had his own life to live now, his own success to build. And he was doing it surrounded by people who valued loyalty, competence, and integrity. People who wouldn't abandon him when times got tough. The next morning, Derek woke up feeling lighter than he had in months. He went for a run, made a proper breakfast, and reviewed some files for Monday's integration announcement. By the time he reached the office, the weekend's events felt like a closed chapter rather than an ongoing wound. Victoria caught him in the hallway. "I heard through the grapevine that the Sterling wedding was quite memorable." "Weddings often are," Derek replied diplomatically. "And you maintained professional decorum." "Absolutely. I simply shared information relevant to an employee's career transition. Nothing more, nothing less." Victoria studied him for a moment, then smiled. "You know what I appreciate about you, Derek? You've learned that the best revenge isn't dramatic or loud. It's competence. It's showing up and doing excellent work while others fall apart. Keep that mindset, and you'll go far with this company. Monday's announcement went smoothly. Ryan Sterling's termination was processed along with 47 other employees, all handled professionally and by the book. Derek reviewed each case personally, ensuring every decision was defensible and fair. When he got home that evening, he found one final message from Jennifer: "I hope you're proud of yourself. You've proven you can be just as cold and calculating as you accused me of being." Derek considered responding, then decided against it. She still didn't understand that what happened wasn't about her. It was about him refusing to be defined by the worst thing that had ever happened to him. He deleted the message and blocked the number. Some chapters deserved to be closed permanently. 6 months later, Derek was promoted to Senior Vice President. He'd earned it through consistent performance, strategic thinking, and the respect of his colleagues. On the day of his promotion, Victoria took him to lunch at an upscale restaurant downtown. "You've exceeded every expectation," she told him. "You took a devastating setback and used it as a catalyst for growth. That's rare." "I had good guidance," Derek replied. "And I learned that the person you are during the worst times defines you more than the person you are during the best times." As they finished lunch and walked back to the office, Derek felt genuinely content. Not because of revenge or vindication, but because he'd rediscovered his worth on his own terms. He'd learned that success meant nothing if it required abandoning your principles, and that true strength came from rebuilding yourself with integrity intact. The man who'd sat in an empty house 18 months ago, devastated by betrayal and loss, was gone. In his place was someone stronger, wiser, and more certain of his value. And that transformation had nothing to do with Jennifer or Ryan and everything to do with the choice Derek had made to rebuild rather than break. Sometimes the best revenge really was living well, and occasionally, letting the people who counted you out see exactly how well you were living. But even better than revenge was knowing you'd done it the right way, with your dignity and principles intact. That was something no one could take from him, no matter what happened next.